Eric.
Hey, Howie, the fitness gorillas are back in town. Exactly.
We're ready.
We're here.
We've got an
We're ready.
unbelievable guest, as usual, on a long string of big wins, big hits. We've got
We're trying to, the fitness gorillas, we're trying to have fitness gorillas come on the show.
Yeah.
And we've had what?
Today.
Mr. Olympia, we had world champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Mark Mastrov, David King, Craig Pepindona, Emma Barrett. We've had the biggest people. Now, the guest that we have today, maybe her name isn't as well known because her company is. I actually used Barbara as a consultant, Barbara Chancey Design Group, and
Design Group.
she is such a fitness gorilla. She's more of a fitness gorilla than I am. She is a bulldog. Okay, when you hire her, do exactly what she says when she says it.
Eric, did
yeah?
you do what she said?
No, we're going to talk about why I didn't, what I should have done and what I didn't do, which is what we're going to go over a little bit. It's a little painful for me, but I didn't follow what Barbara said and did. I tried to. However, without making any excuses, we didn't get it done. I take responsibility. It wasn't her at all. She was phenomenal.
Right.
Had I done what she said, it would have been successful. So we're going to talk about that because I'm sure I'm not the first one that didn't listen to her. But I'm sure she'd like to talk to us about that.
But you listened to her, but just your circumstances didn't allow to follow through.
I wasn't in the country. I wasn't watching it. The people that I had working together thought that, well, we'll go over the mistakes as we go through it. But one of the things...
we don't have that much time.
Yeah, but one of the things that we're talking about is she's an expert at boutiques, all kinds of boutiques. Indoor cycling, boxing, every type of boutique. She'll go into that. But the biggest mistake that we all make from the fitness business is thinking that, oh, it's a small gym. It's the opposite of a small gym. It's the exact opposite of a small gym. Boutiques were made because the members didn't want a gym. So let me talk a little bit about Barbara's her biography. Okay, she's based in Dallas, Texas. Barbara is a respected pioneer in the boutique fitness industry and is guided. Here's some beautiful designs while I'm talking. Over 200 successful startups worldwide. From turnkey studios to corporate remodels and luxury residential products, her services are as diverse as her clients. Look at how beautiful the lighting is. With nearly 2 decades of real-world experience, Barbara's rich knowledge and proven methods combine to deliver unparalleled fitness destinations in any scale or location. A conference presenter and contributing columnist, she launched this niche business in 2009 after becoming frustrated with the conditions of the big box gym where she taught indoor cycling and yoga. Fueled by an entrepreneurial spirit, look at that. Her vision is contagious and clients boast a 90% success rate. Without me, it probably would have been 99. Sorry to say that. Unlike traditional fitness architects or consultants,
Cool.
She offers business plans, branding, architecture, interior designs, operations, and training. Clients have access to the smartest minds in the industry and enjoy networking with successful owners worldwide. Barbara is the first to export entire studio contents to the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and the Caribbean. From launching Brunei's first indoor cycling and HIT studios to expansive projects in Bahrain, Qatar, and Nigeria. She is quietly joining the world one pedal stroke, plank, and push-up at a time. Look at those designs. Look, she does it all. She is a gorilla, a detailed forensic person. She's one-stop shop, endless energy, a superstar. Let's have a big welcome, please, to Barbara Chancey, Design Group, please.
There she
Hey,
is.
Barbara.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you guys again.
You're looking good. You look younger and younger and younger.
Thank you. I like whatever
What is your
drug you're
secret?
on. Well,
What's
the
your
The
secret?
secret is every day you wake up thinking, what next? What next? You just never know. The world is full of surprises, and that's what I love about my job. I never know what's in my inbox. It could be this morning, a call with Nigeria, or someone says, oh, help, I want a studio, name the place. Maybe we'll put one on the moon. It doesn't matter, but every day we're energized, not by me, but by my clients. Because Jane Fonda once said, I'm in the third act. The curtain's going down. And that's how I feel. I've only got so many days left to save the world. And so I'm on a mission and fighting like a gorilla. It's like, oh, the clock's ticking and I have to put more studios and help more people. And it's fun.
Well, since the day I met you, I mean, you're 100%, you're 100% genuine. You are 100% believability and belief in yourself and your product. And it's contagious. I mean, your whole company embodies who you are, and couldn't recommend a more powerful overall package than you.
Well, thank you. Well, I think I respect instructors and how this crazy company started. I was teaching indoor cycling. It was actually spinning, licensed, registered Mad Dog spinning back in the day. And I'm sure you remember it in the gym where we had 10 bikes. We had to pull them out of the group X room and under the disco. Yeah. And I was so frustrated because the yoga, people didn't just come and go. The doors open and close, but what was cycling, it was this distraction. So I made a deal with the owner of the gym, independent gym. I said, look, you've got about 1,200 square feet with just a bunch of used equipment, coffee cups, water bottles. I'm going to put in the first boutique cycling studio dedicated. And if you don't double your membership in 1 year, you don't owe me a dime. I mean, how can he say no?
When was that? When was that?
That was in 2007.
2007.
2007.
13 years ago. The beginning.
The beginning. And this was long before anyone had heard of solar berries, but I knew that no one would leave my class if I designed it different. I had a little bit of architectural background, just enough to be dangerous, but I knew simple things like if you don't teach a class, how can you design for that? So like a restaurant, if you ask the chef, what do they need? You don't just put a generic restaurant and then hire sushi, pizza, whatever. And so that's what's so unique about my approach is that I take care of instructors because I've been that person for 20 years thinking if they're happy, you're really happy. And instructors, the turnover rate is super high. And so I started creating spaces through the eyes of instructors and giving them what they need. And then things took off. So what happened back in the day when I made the deal, right? 10 bikes went to 20, 20 went to 40, 40 went to 60. I was working every time the gym would close at 11, I would go in with my nail gun and paint, and I was redesigning everything, the exact opposite of what most architects were wanting. And suddenly word spread. And then I trained my team and we created charity events, and we were running a studio inside a gym, charging for classes exactly like the boutiques today. And I was on fire. And I went and knocked on all the doors. I won't name names, but let's just say they're the big boxes you all know. I banged on their doors. I wrote letters. Everyone laughed. I went to the equipment manufacturers. I went to all the names you know and said, please let me help you with boutiques. I mean, we're going to really start something amazing. And they just laughed. You know, they just said, oh, it's a fad. Who would want to ever ride a bike in the dark? They didn't get it. And some of them still don't get it today. But what happened is this voice that is inside of me, and that's why I love the name of your show, because I have been a gorilla. I have been fighting.
You are.
I went to donate things. I said, U.S. Army, can I do a studio for you? I mean, how can they say no? I was teaching myself. I would actually pay people. Let me remodel this. Let me do it for you. I bartered. I've done everything. I would write columns. Just please, somebody listen. And nobody listened. No one cared. But every day I woke up and it's that burning. It's like, I have to do this. I have to do this because I knew I had been donated rides to drug and alcohol recovery for the troops. I've donated to Weight Watchers, to charities, anything you could imagine. I've helped people raise $65,000 in 24 hours for cancer. And I knew the power of that boutique concept. So anyway, fast forward, I started helping and I put a little website out and I thought, oh, I'll put some pictures. This was GoDaddy, right? I did it myself. And I was so proud. And I had a few pictures. And one day I got a call. First call ever from a group in Texas. And they
so
said,
much fun, huh?
It was so much fun. And I was like, pitch me. They really want to hire me. And they said, we want to put the first cycling and yoga studio in Dallas. And we found your website. And I mean, you're the only person that gets this. Can we meet? And we'd love to talk. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. So I put on my big girl pants and got my briefcase and let's do this. And it was fascinating because after the dinner, two of the guys said, is this a hobby or a business? And I paused. And at that moment, they shook their head and they said, look, grow up your website, make it a business and call us and we'll do business. Have a good day. And they walked off. And I'm like, are you kidding? So I marched to the bank. And the point of the story is that when someone criticizes you, it's because they care. If somebody criticizes you, they see something. If they didn't care, they wouldn't waste their time. So I went to the bank, got a loan, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 3 months later, I called them back. What do you think? And they said, well, it looks great, but we changed our mind. And we decided we're going to get transferred, do something else. Have a good day. That continues to resonate with me. Here I am just thinking I did it to prove I could do it. And I never expected the next call, the next call. And suddenly word traveled. And what that story tells is that when I ask clients, and Eric, I'm not going to step on your toes, but when I say, is this a business or a hobby? If you just want a hobby, then get a franchise or just hire somebody to do it. A business is you care. You wake up every day and you have to do it. It's not an option. And so that's one of the first questions that I've learned to ask is that, how serious do you want this? I took the challenge and then fast forward. And today we've, gosh, I don't know, I've lost count, like 250 studios or something all over the world, 6 continents. Wow. The first in Brunei, the first time women in Saudi Arabia have ridden a bike, Kenya, I mean, plus all over the US. And we're very quiet. We don't advertise. I've never been to URSA. I don't do any of the trade shows. We're just kind of like the black book. It's not about me. My team, we're the best in the world. We sit up in the balcony and we celebrate your success.
Well, I think, going back to those guys, that your very first meeting, even though you didn't have a website, you didn't have what they were looking for, but what you did have was the passion. Okay? You had the passion. That's what blew them away in the first place. And you had done it. You weren't a student. You were a teacher. You knew exactly where the vision had to go. You weren't just a hobbyist. You were at the beginning of the creation, but you had already visualized it. You already knew what it had to be, and that emulated from you, and they picked up on that. Yes. The fact that they needed some more solid concrete, that's their loss.
But they challenged
me.
They were the first people who believed, because all the other doors I knocked on, but they believed and they saw something. And they said, you can do this. You just have to be a little bit better, but you're onto something. And that was the first vote of confidence. And I mean, I was fueled and it was game on. If I got one person who believes in me, that's all I needed. And so what's interesting, the way we design studios, again, through the eyes of instructors, we handle everything from location selection, the naming, the branding, every single piece of the puzzle. You can't just hire me for 5 hours and expect to be successful. Now, I would love to take 5 hours, but the point is everything starts with the brand. And I'll give you a couple of examples. What I've learned through the years is that brands fall into 3 different categories. They can be inspirational, competitive, or rebellious. And if your interiors and the way you teach and your vocabulary, if they don't all go together to reflect that brand, then there's contradiction. And the minute you have contradiction, that's the first step to failure. All right. So everyone.
And let's talk about that. Stop right there. Yeah, Barbara, stop right there. Okay. Because I'm not I don't have your DNA on that. And so when I hear that, having gone through the other side, okay, I found out the hard way, not listening to you properly, what that little contradiction means and how fast that little spark fire goes the opposite way, and how attuned the people that love this certain feeling are aware of any mistake that you make. It can be a guy with his shirt off at the wrong time. Now, some clubs do that. My friends have Grit in New York, and that's their DNA, but it's always been their DNA. But I found out the hard way that the audience of that particular feeling has to always get the exact music, the exact input consistently to make them believe that A, you are what you say you are, B, that they want to be part of that brand and loyal to the nth degree. You taught me that, and I couldn't believe how sensitive that contradiction is. So tell us more about that.
Tell us more about that. I go through a series. Let's just say you want to be a new client, right? So I'll ask you about 50 or 60 questions of what do you believe? Because if you don't know what you believe, how can you hire somebody that believes what you believe? And how can I design a studio that reflects that belief? So we'll just jump into the indoor cycling world, okay? Case in point. So if you tell me you're an inspirational studio, all right, your branding, your language, everything is uplifting. What that means to me is the way you distribute shoes. An inspirational studio would have a high reception desk. We don't need to see the cups, the clutters. All you do when you walk in is you see a pretty smile and, oh, here are your shoes. Have a great ride. You're on bike 6 today. See you tomorrow. You're given something, okay? You walk in, the front desk is inspirational. Now, if you're a competitive studio, I book bike 16. I walk in, there's the iPad. Hey, how you doing? Check in. I get my shoes out of cubby 16. I'm bike 16, locker 16. It's a number. The back of the computer screen is what I see when I walk in the door. It's either going to be Dell or Apple or LG, but the first thing when I walk in are cables. And if you're a rebellious studio, badass with a good ass, those are the ones we're really, really are having fun with right now. You know what? We're just going to put shoes and benches down the corridor, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you're transgender, I don't care. Just get a pair of shoes. If they're too big, get another pair. Versus get back in line again. Mother, may I have any? You see the difference. That's just one tiny little aspect of your brand. So if your brand name is inspirational, but yet you walk in the door and you see the back of the computer screen, you've already got contract. Why is there contradiction? So that's why we start with every single detail to reflect that. We ask questions like, for example, in a yoga studio. I teach yoga and I know your appreciation of it as well, Eric, but it always amazes my team and I, we go in undercover all the time. It's so much fun. So I had a group in the other day and we're lying there in Shavasana and all of a sudden the instructor has to leave, the teacher, if you will, leaves to get the chill towel. And I asked, why did she leave? The captain does not leave the boat. That is 30 seconds that she could have inspired somebody. That's 30 seconds that he could have adjusted or touched somebody. We've lost that connection because they had to go get a towel. So why would you not put in a 2-way refrigerator so the teacher just opens the door flush? Don't leave the studio. Those are one of hundreds of questions that we ask. What do you believe? What do you believe in? So when we start understanding the concept, for example, go back to cycling again. Do you believe that there should always be one instructor on stage, on the podium? Or do you believe in team rides and maybe 2 or 3 are celebrating? Somebody had a stroke and they were paralyzed and now they're back. Of course they're going to ride next to me, but you might not believe that. Do you believe that guests in your home after a party, Eric, do they go out the garage? Of course not. They go out by the front door and you create a receiving line and you say, see you tomorrow. But why in boxing do they go out the back and nobody said goodbye? Nobody knew their name. You see all of the questions, that's just one of hundreds that we go through, because when we understand your belief, do you believe that in a cycling studio or boxing or anything that has a dark, a hit studio, that when the door opens, because somebody had to slip out early, does the light bother others? Do you think that's okay? In a Broadway musical, you don't slip out in the middle. Movie theater, if you go out to get popcorn, nobody saw. But why? Because the instructor, you spent so much time getting that playlist together, and the minute there's that moment of disconnect, you've lost them. I mean, it took 30 minutes to get them here, and then all of a sudden the light comes in. So that's, again, just one of those things that from the instructor's eyes, if you keep them happy, they're the ones who fill the classes. And that's what most of the gym owners don't get. It's
No.
the very first time I taught a class, I had been in the class for about a year, and one day the instructor never showed up, right? And how hard could it be? Just go get a CD. I mean,
Sure.
it was awful. It's a whole different world on the other side. And so we design everything through their eyes. We give them special places so they're honored guests. Madonna, Jerry Seinfeld, they don't go to the bathroom with the audience. Why would you
Sure.
have your instructors? So
Tell
enough of that.
us. Okay, but going back to that contrast, talk to us about contrast in marketing, contrast in pictures, contrast in the overall branding, exterior, interior. I get it. You covered that. The look and how. What are they looking for? And you make a mistake, and then what are you going to do about it? Okay.
Well,
now what are you going to do about it?
yeah. So the thing with the boutique mindset, it's grassroots. We would never hire an advertising company to pass out flyers. We don't talk the language. We don't call them members. They're clients. There's little tips. There's little hints that you kind of get it or you don't. You're a pretender or you really, really know it. There's a different attitude. So typically in a timeline for a boutique studio, long before we find the location, we've already started an influencer program. We've already got early adopters. We've already started our charity. Lots of philanthropy is going on. And so typically we're juggling all these balls at once. Sometimes we will name a studio based on the location. A good example is Turn Studio in Atlanta. We helped find the location, beautiful outdoor area with restaurants and residential and fountains. And we started thinking nocturnal, turn is part of nocturnal. 4 times a year when the seasons turn, nocturnal rides for charity, nocturnal yoga mats, kettlebells. That's a cool name. And then the branding starts and everything goes with that. So what the boutiques do from a standpoint is everything from the language at the front desk we help you with. If you gym, sometimes the contradiction is within a gym. Like yoga may not like bodybuilding. The bodybuilders don't like cardio. CrossFit doesn't like, even within that roof.
Right.
Contradiction. And so what happens in the boutique world is that we start small and we start strong. We start quiet and we start gathering this momentum. And suddenly the momentum builds and builds. So about 3 months before you open, we've already done charity events in parking lot of Whole Foods or anywhere. We've already done these things to give back to the community. And that's what people are buying into. It's fitness. Yes, I get it. It's all about fitness, but it does take the place of, the saying, do good, feel good. And just simply having a charity event once a year, it's okay. But the boutiques thrive on this.
Right.
We did Rise 31 in Delray, Florida. Former fitness person who sold all of his Orange Theories in order to create Rise 31. Every month that has 31 days, they give back to local charities and 3 studios under one roof. We rise by lifting others. So the taglines, and that's an inspirational studio. So every single touch point, and I'll jump on this, and then I know you have a million questions, but this is one of the things I see all the time in studios.
I'm going to come back in. How will you take over for 1 second? Okay, go ahead, Barb. Go ahead.
So what happens is at the front desk, we even help the vocabulary, and some of the gyms miss this. If you believe that you are inclusive and you're not judgmental, right? We accept everyone. I believe that. Then why do you call someone Dr. Bill or Dr. John or Miss or Ma'am? Those are labels. Those are judgments of status. They're judgments of age. I've often laughed and said, J-Lo, what is she, 50 now? I mean, you're going to call her ma'am? I don't think so. So why would you call someone else who's 45 ma'am? At what age do you say that? And sometimes the front desk will say, it's just a habit and it's a judgment. So you have to know the touch point of your brand. Inspirational, competitive, rebellious. Is it first name only? I don't know. I don't care. But you have to know, because most of the conflict happens at the front desk because they've not been indoctrinated, if you will, into the brand. The boutiques are like a religion. You wear symbols of faith. That's your logo. You are loyal to your guru. You show up on certain days. You tithe. That's the class fee.
Well, you just said it. Stop. You said the key phrase that every big box owner has to hear, okay? Again, I should have listened.
Shame on you.
Okay. So all of my friends and people that the fitness gorillas have consulted worldwide hear this very clearly from Barbara. These groups are not happy with the brand. There's so many great brands. People love Gold's Gyms. They are very loyal to it. That's, let's say, level 6, level 7. Certain yoga studios, brand 7 or 8. But what you just said about religion, and you mean that because you see how fiercely loyal you've created religions. You used the word. I wasn't going to use it, but you used it. You've created these, and you've seen other companies, SoulCycle being probably the first and biggest one that people know about. Big brands, you can't get that. You can't get there. You can't get to that level. Again, Gold's Gym in the late 70s, early 80s, kind of, but nothing to the degree of the boutiques and their following. It is a religion. And if they see something, going back to what you said earlier, an inconsistency or a mistake that, hey, wait a minute, you said we're this way. And for a big box owner, honestly, we can't get there from our mentality to where what Barbara's talking about. We can't get there.
Yeah, but Eric,
unless you have Barbara. Unless you have a Barbara, and two things. A, you got to have a Barbara. And B, you got to shut up, put the ego aside, and let it happen. Because every type of information you're going to give Barbara or think that this is it, it's going to hurt you. You're going to go backwards. Everything that worked in the big box, it's opposite. These people created boutiques because they don't like the big boxes. They don't want to go through the free weight room to get to their yoga class. They don't want any of that. They want to know exactly what to expect, no intimidation, and have exactly the experience they want. So to all the big box operators and owners out there, it's not a small club. It's completely 100% different. Can you say something about that, Barbara?
Yeah, I am just smiling, agreeing with you, and thank you for recognizing that. The touch points and consistency.
It only cost me $1 million, so no big deal.
I know. But think about Starbucks, okay? It's the same latte in Denver, Dubai, or Dallas. You don't just make it up because you saw it on YouTube. It's the same. And that's what you have to have. The consistency is the same. For example, ceiling fans. Do you want them or not? I don't care. SoulCycle has them, or wall fans at one point. When Flywheel, they split up. They went without ceiling fans. Fans are the source of a lot of contention. So I don't care if you need them, but if you decide you want them, they should come on the same time every class. 3 songs, fans automatically come on. 3 songs before the finish line, they automatically go off. Rather than sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Same way with chill towels. If that's part of your brand and you're going to hand out the eucalyptus, then maybe one instructor forgot. It's that inconsistency. You can't forget. And again, small rules, whatever they are, then you must enforce them because that is part of who you are. And that's a lot of the inconsistencies, I think, in the big boxes is that, and remember, that's where I started. So I'm super loyal, and we're actually putting in a boutique right now in a group outside of Houston. We'll be going back to 2007, whenever it all started, and putting in a first
We'll talk
studio.
about that, Barbara. Okay, so here we go. This is a perfect topic. We're reverse engineering a little bit now. You're going to be dealing with the people that we talked about earlier, me and people like Howie and stuff. So now, what are you going to do to make sure what happened to me and the fighters and do what you say?
There's a book, Why Entrepreneurs Fail, and it's, to summarize, is because they spend time doing what they know instead of learning what they do not. Think about that one.
That's true.
So in the case
For
of the
me.
one in Houston, the first person, and I shared this with you, the first person we need is the front desk manager, the studio manager. That is the heart and soul of everything that happens. Who's the posting? Who's getting the theme classes? Who's creating that wave, that ripple effect of that inner circle, the grassroots marketing? That doesn't come from hiring somebody. That comes from your circle of influence. So the first thing I'm doing with the large Houston group is I've already interviewed today 3 instructors, and they will be in training. And we've got to have that core group who gets up every day and they have to do it. It's not an option. And I've often asked, as I asked you, would you get a tattoo? And you said no. Do you remember that? I asked if you would have a tattoo of one ride, and you said no. And that told me that you didn't really believe it.
Good idea.
These are people, when you find them, they would pay
I'm
you.
afraid of pain.
No, but they would pay you to teach there. Just like when in my early days, just let me design it. Please let me help you. And there are people out there. And when you find them, then the owners of the gym, what they need to do is provide a clean area and just run it separately, and try not to put a Zumba instructor on a bike. And no offense to the Les Mills, the pre-programmed, I get all that. Okay, I support that. However, don't put a ceiling on the sky of your instructor, because the music and telling someone, just read this, just play this, it almost reduces their value. And so instructors are creative. They love to wake up every day and think, what next? Because I taught sold out classes for 10 years. And if you have an empty seat, by the way, whether it's boxing, yoga, it doesn't matter what, it's not the weather. If you're charging $20 for a class, it ought to be worth $40. If it's not worth $20, they're not going to come for free. And how do you make it worth $40? Time and time again.
On your club that you're putting the boutique in the club, do you have a separate entrance?
Yeah, that's a good.
Yes. We have a separate entrance, it's a big deal. But then if you belong to that club, you get classes as part of your membership.
Sure. But the
you can
core
You enter
group,
from a different,
Either
to
way,
be able to enter is vital as far as.
Either way, you can enter from this one. It was 1,600 square feet, but we put in shoes, their disinfectant area. We have a green room for the instructors to chill. It is essentially a small studio within it, and it will be run separately. And the way to make it successful is to stop the control and to hire people again and let them run it as a boutique. You can't micromanage it.
Yeah.
So you can join either way. Eric, let me ask you a question. So in this case, because I wanted to talk about something you mentioned earlier, because it's starting to happen in Montreal as well.
We have a great program in Montreal starting.
Okay, well, you'll tell me about it.
It's very exciting.
Because there's a lot of people talking about opening up these studios within a big box kind of idea. Like you mentioned, I forget who, but had 3 studios in one building, but I guess all separate entrances. Where do you see that going as opposed to doing things inside a box?
I don't. It all goes back to your instructor. You're only as good as your worst instructor's worst playlist. And so in our budgets for our studios, we have 25,000. Remember, we do business plans as well with real numbers, not numbers generated from URSA, but these are real numbers from the last 300 clients we've seen on 6 different continents, we can tell you. And so it's kind of like, you're only as good as your worst instructor's worst playlist, and we train them. If you've got 25,000 a year in instructor training, that's pretty impressive. And so those instructors move around and they feed and they help and they grow. And that's another reason of Soul Success is they can move those instructors around to help with new ones, new locations opening. And it fuels their spirit because they're smart. And a lot of people discount their value and think, oh, we could just put a monkey on a bike. Who cares? Give them a disco ball. All they want to do. And like, that was why the boutique started, because it's insulting and good things happen. Again, it's very similar, especially with cycling. It's like yoga on a bike. And until you've taught it, you don't understand it.
So do you think that by putting 3 separate, completely different ideas, maybe a cycling studio, a boxing, an F45, within the same area, but completely separate, maybe even separate entrances, why wouldn't that work? Because I know a lot of people are thinking about it.
To answer your question, yes, if they're independent, but because what happens with your price, for example, if you've got one that's already charging $20 a class, then the next one can charge $22 and everybody's used to it.
No,
Okay, so
they're completely separate, but they're in the same area, same location. So
Same entrance, Howie, or
Not
Same-
same
under the
entrance
same
or
roof?
not?
not the same entrance, maybe a locker room. I don't know. What I heard about is one with three.
well, we do a
exactly what
lot
was
of
told
three
me.
studios under one roof. We've got a 9,000 square foot project now that has three studios under one roof, but it's one brand. And so again,
These
and
are
what's
different brands. That's the
different brands,
situation.
as long as,
Keep
I've,
it separate.
so
There
I
may
would
be
be
some
okay.
marketing. There may be some cooperative marketing to this, and that's probably the reason they're doing it. I haven't
Maybe
really got
so.
into
I
it,
know
so-
the independents are so fierce because what we like to do with our projects is that you never know what's going to be hot next year. We design studios, 3 words: new, improved, improving. All right, that's your English for the day. Anything new triggers momentum but won't sustain momentum. All right, so what happens is, again, through the eyes of instructors, we design studios to give you 10 years before you get bored. So we hide things in the walls because one day you might want to teach aerial yoga. I don't know, TRX, who knows? So we go ahead and put things, we wire things. If you want to do video, those are already in the walls, not for today, for next year. Because think about this. Your clients are inundated with marketing. You go to the grocery store, you go to the market. I mean, there's 27 kinds of Crest toothpaste, all to fight cavities. There's whitening, there's just gums. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You look at Goldfish, I mean, Oreo cookies, just Bounty paper towels. There's new, improved, improving. It keeps getting better and better and better. And your members return to the same. And you wonder why there's empty seats or why there's, decline in classes or memberships. So when we design something, it's for 10 years thinking forward. It's not for today. And so what we like to do is, remember, it's the instructor who brings people. If you're a really, really good instructor, you can teach on a pogo stick and a cardboard box, like a food truck, all right? And you'll make a hell of a lot of money. We can design a $2 million studio with mediocre instructors, and you're going to scratch your head. And this leads me to things like lighting. I'm always my lighting designer, toured with Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones. You can't get better, right? We have the best minds in the world. But the first thing we want to do is, why do you need lights? I mean, to string up some LED lights is insulting. Like, why do you need lights? I go back to the case of Rise 31 in Florida. Every class has your moment to rise. The lights go down and the walls begin this rising and the colors just for one song. And that's the time where we just shut off and think about it. How can you help others? How can you help others rise? The lighting was created. Now, many, many different light shows, but if you don't know why you need lighting and it has nothing to do with your brand, then don't put in. A Soul Cycle has 2 LED candles. I mean, they don't need it.
Yeah.
So why do you need lighting? Some do. In the case of Shine X in Brunei, by the way, I've heard that's the 12th most successful boutique in Southeast Asia. We just love those guys. Thank you. It was so fun working in that group. Shine Cycle was first in the country, and then a year later we did Shine X, and they're side by side in the shopping center. That area opened. Shine Cycle was very uplifting, joyful. We made it very Art Deco, clip in, rock out, shine on. It was very elegant. The sultry little dark sister, the provocative, we don't know if it's pain or pleasure, but we kind of like it. That's the boot camp next door. We kept the same brand. Wow. And so, but it all goes back to the instructors. To answer your question, the first thing we do is, why do you need lighting? How will you integrate it with your class? Are there moments, for example, in a yoga studio, maybe we have a distressed wall out of bricks with little flicker candles. For that one moment, it just kind of flickers during Shavasana. That's cool. And so that's what we're doing in the luxury residential market as well. We're putting in the best of the boutiques. We're putting in a cycle studio for 2 bikes, boot camp, boxing, everything you could imagine for small, rather than just put some equipment in. And it's the experience.
You've done it every type. Just going back for 1 second to Howie's question about big box and separating a few different brands. From what I've learned, they have to have their own entrance, because without that, I can't visualize.
No, you lose
because
the boutique idea.
Right.
There's no big box that has the boutique feel. Right? Impossible.
Yes. Come early,
And
stay late, socialize, private parties. You want wedding parties, divorce parties, celebrations. It's a small, it's kind of your place, like your bar at Cheers where everyone knows your name.
Right.
Intimate.
So,
And it's,
so number one has to have their own entrance, and number two has to have complete autonomy. Has
correct.
to be other than because
They're in the
they're going to
same
end
place.
up they're going to end up leaving their sanctuary as you've designed it,
Absolutely.
opening up the door to the showers, locker rooms, and everything of the big box.
Right.
Automatically, there's going to be a disconnection.
Of course.
But the fact is that they have an extra 20 or 30,000 square feet that by paying for the individual class or classes, you can use the other facilities. So
Yes.
that's the balance. But unless the big box owner is completely bought in, 100% bought in, coming from your side, doesn't work out in his own gym type, it goes to the cycling, goes to the boxing elsewhere. Unless they're 100% bought in, short term may be okay, long term it won't work.
Exactly. And that's why it's a mindset. And as we both keep harping on this religion thing. Think about houses of worship. Okay, they each require something unique. You can't have one standard architectural plan because it's a different belief system, whether it's a restaurant or a church. And so that's why I go in through the eyes of the exact opposite of what people are doing. And just like you mentioned, the locker rooms, if you're a rebellious studio, then we have unisex bathrooms. It's whatever, just wash your hands. If it's inspirational, it's men's and women's. Every single detail. When we're helping our brands, we want to come up with the taglines. I've always said, if your retail clothing, if your brand is not all over town, it's because it's a horrible logo and nobody likes it. And
Howie, we're almost over. Barbara, Howie, do you have any last questions for Barbara?
Yeah, I want to know what's new. What's new in the business? Where is it going?
what's new?
It's
Well,
going to be different in the future.
I think different. From our standpoint, we've always thought forward, and so like HVAC, people complain because maybe we give you an $85,000 HVAC system with fresh air return, but there's no humidity, and maybe we've always in our designs put in sterilization rooms for shoes, boxing gloves. I mean, that's just common sense, right? Why would you not? A lot of the boutiques. It was a rebellion from the big boxes because they wanted these things. And so space between classes where the bikes and the equipment is always wiped off and bacterial is removed, whether it's UV lighting or your sprays. So one of the things that the boutiques like to do is use their own cleaning products. We don't trust the big box gym cleaning crew because we don't know what they're using. We want to know the brand and we want to know the alcohol content. And so those are fairly new things. But again, I just got off a call with Nigeria. We have 8,000 square feet going in Lagos. It will open in November. We have Qatar that will be opening, and they have not stopped one bit. And yes, things are changing, but remember 1929, that's when Charles Atlas started the first gym during the Great Depression.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
let me end by saying, first, how does somebody get to you, Barbara?
Well, I'm very simple person. You can go to the website and drop an email, info@barbarachanceydesign.com. Can't get any easier than
Okay.
that. There's an 800
That's-
number if you want to leave a message, but
Yeah.
just go to
What
the
is it?
website.
What's the 800 number?
The 800 number is on the website. So just go there, barbarachanceydesign.com. And again, we're very quiet. We don't shout. Just find us. We're underground like the Guerrillas are. So thank you guys. It was just great spending an afternoon with you today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Very interesting.
You're at
Should
the
become
top.
more committed, though, right? I don't think she's
Yeah.
committed to what she does. She's very wishy-washy
You're-
in the whole thing.
Your passion and you're complete. And all I can say is anybody getting into the boutique space worldwide, even if you think you know quite a bit,
You don't.
hire Barbara. It's going to end up saving you a ton of anxiety, a ton of costs, and you're going to have the best boutique, whatever it is, in your community, in your city, in your country. So highest recommendation for you. And thank you so much, Barbara, for being a guest of Fitness Guerrillas. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
very
guys.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Wow. You see? She,
No, she's perky with her commitment, that's for sure.
right. She is,
Oh, really? Why wouldn't you hire her? If you had any idea to do anything like this, she's be the
Yeah.
one. I mean, we've
You
talked
can
to her
see.
before about these things. And,
Yeah,
you know, really.
you can see, and it's such a, it's in a big expense. You know, it's not $100,000. These boutiques can cost $1 million or more, depends on the size. So you don't want to miss. And my advice again is just shut up.
Yeah.
If you hire her, let her do her thing. Step out of the way. You know, don't ask why. Watch. She'll explain it.
She knows.
Let it happen. Yeah, she knows.
Take the
And-
value that she's already learned and put
Right.
it to good use and not waste your time. But the other thing I wanted to tell you was what's going on in a few places. I don't really just go through it enough. Is people are gathering like 3 separate units. They're not maybe even together, and they're in the same, let's say, warehouse type building, right? And that is kind of like a class pass in real estate, because you could go and you could join one, and they're all separate. They're separate owners, and so
That's good.
It's like
That's good.
It's, what do they call it? A cluster, a business cluster.
Like all the
But it's-
furniture stores next to each other, all the car stores next to each other.
it's in
It works
one-
for a reason.
Well, it's in one building, and I know someone was doing it, and they were going to put in a community locker room, which through a third party, I said, well, that's going to destroy the whole idea. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they don't want to be thinking like you
No.
said, you're going to open the door and suddenly you're in somewhere else. So these guys are doing, I think it's 3 different things within a building. So they're going to.
Well, you should consult with them and tell them why it won't work.
I have
And
already in a third party way, but the thing is that when I see it open, I'll believe.
right, no,
people
but
are
again,
talking.
like what
It's a good idea.
what you but what you said and what she said and what I said, as long as they're autonomous and the experience isn't compromised, it will work. It will work. Sure, it will work, but
We'll have
as
to
soon as
get
it's
her-
compromised, it won't work.
We'll have to get her back to see how it worked out in doing something in a big box gym, and
Yeah.
see how she prevented it. Unless they have a completely separate entrance and locker room and everything else, how did she prevent this sudden? Here I am in my little cocoon, and then
Yeah.
bang! I'm in Palookaville, Schlabutnik land.
Right. Well, here's another
Oscar.
killer, best of the best,
She's the best.
person that came on our show.
Another gorilla.
I love having people that level, like Barbara and like Emma Barrett, everyone we've had on the show,
Everybody.
because we haven't compromised at all. We're not going to, and the responses have been so great. Our viewership is growing. Everyone seems to be getting a lot out of the content. When's the webinar, the Fitness Gorillas webinar, going to be ready for everyone to go to?
I don't know. You got to finish it.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's coming up probably next week.
Very soon.
With the master class as well. And in that,
You're gonna
as
learn
you've
everything.
seen these shows, we're going to fill it with everything that a gym owner, any type of owner in the wellness or fitness industry needs to know. Not just now, but forever. So look for that, and we'll keep you informed. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Fitness Gorillas.
All right. We'll see you next time.
We're here for you.
Who's coming up, Eric, though, before you go?
We have a lot of surprise guests that we'll talk about
It'll be a surprise
very,
if they
very
show
soon. Yeah, they show up.
They show
Thank
up.
you all for watching.
All right. See you next time.
Bye-bye.